Namaste and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. Today I'll be doing a Vinyasa flow aimed at improving our jump backs that you see a lot in the Ashtanga series. So we're going to be doing lots of core work, lots of arm work, as well as going through the mechanism of how we can perform a jump back and some modifications to help us build up to it. Jump backs are something that I've practiced a lot through the years and still have a lot of work left to do. So it's really all about practice, and that's what we're here for. So when you're ready, join me on your mat in a comfortable seated position. Let's close our eyes and start focusing on our breathing, lengthening our inhales, slowing down our exhales. Inhale and exhale. Let's join our palms together at heart center and think about our intention for this practice. Let's promise to accept ourselves wherever we are in our practice today and not to become too attached. Let's start with a chant of 1 Om and 3 Shantis. So on your next inhale, prepare for Om. Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Gently rub your palms together. Cover the closed eyes with the palms. Softly blink the eyes open and release your palms. Namaste. Welcome. Let's get started coming onto our mat into a nice comfortable child's pose, knees and feet together, chest resting over the knees, arms down by our side. We'll be coming back to this position of this tucked little ball in different ways throughout the practice. Just feel what it's like when gravity is helping us, when there's complete relaxation here. See how small it is possible for us to get. Let's bring the arms above the head, create cups with the hands, pressing the fingertips into the mat, and be strong with the arms, stretching through our shoulders here, breathing into our side ribs. See if you can walk the fingertips a little more forward. See if you can keep the chest on your knees, keep your head descending down to the ground. Let's walk the fingertips over to the right side, feeling a bit of a stretch in our left side body, breathing into our ribs. And let's bring the hands back to center and walk them over to the left side, feeling the stretch in our right side body. A couple of breaths here. Let's bring the hands back to center and slowly walk them towards our body. Tuck our spine and roll it up, coming into Vajrasana. Here, let's start warming up our wrists. So let's hold our hands out in front of us and just start some simple wrist circles. Going in one direction. When you've done 5 or 10, let's switch directions. And let's keep our hands out. Now press our palms away from us, pulling our fingertips back towards us. And then exhale, bring the fingertips down to the ground, pulling them towards us the other way. Maybe even bend the fingertips into the palm. And let's work this motion with our breath. So inhale, palms away from us. fingertips coming towards us, the heel of our hand pushing away, being sure to keep our shoulders relaxed, keeping our core strong here as well. And exhale, palms towards us, fingers down to the ground, and maybe bending the fingers in. Inhale, palms away. Exhale, palms toward. Inhale, push them away. Exhale, push them towards us. And let's bring the palms together and just make some circles here for our wrists. 5 in one direction. And switch directions. Pushing our hands together, feeling that stretch. We're going to be keeping a lot of our weight onto our hands and our arms, so it's important that we warm up these joints. Our shoulders also, let's bring our fingertips onto our shoulders and just make some big circles with our elbows. And switch directions. Let's bring our arms out to the side, create claws with our hands, and pulse our arms up and down, being strong throughout our whole arm, activating our muscles, activating our shoulders, keeping our stomach from jutting out, trying to keep our stomach into our spine, keeping our shoulders down away from our ears. Let's bring the hands facing away from us and out front and back. Try not to let our torso move around too much. Now the palms facing the ceiling, pulse up and down. Remember to breathe. And turn the palms to the back and pulse front and back, keeping our torso as solid as we can. And let's bring the arms down, just roll out the shoulders. And the other way. And now let's come onto our backs and start creating some heat in our core. Let's start just hugging our knees into our chest, feeling this tight tucked position. Let's extend the left leg out on the ground, keeping our right leg tucked into our body. Use some ankle circles here. Now we're going to lift our left leg up off the ground, lift our shoulders and head off the ground, and extend our arms in front of us, holding this tight position. Let's straighten our right leg, bring the left arm to the outside of the right foot, right arm behind our head, and we're going to switch. We're going to bring the knees together and switch over to the left side. Now the left arm is behind our head. And switch, trying to reach high to that foot. Inhale, and on exhale, switch. 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 And hold here on the right side. Let's bring both arms around the leg. We're going to lower the shoulders, and on exhale, come up and try to clap behind our thigh. Let's do it 2 more times. And hold, and lower back, knees to the chest. Extend the right leg out on the ground. Do some ankle circles with your left foot. Forgot that I'm still wearing my socks. then we're going to lift our right foot off the ground, lift our head and shoulders off the ground, and extend our arms, keeping the chin tucked into the chest. Let's extend that left foot and reach over to the outside with the right hand. Left hand comes behind the head. And we're going to do the same switch. Feeling a strong core. Switch. 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 Trying to get as high as we can, reaching for that foot. Trying not to stress our neck. And now when we come onto the left side, we're going to hold. Bring both hands around the leg. Lower onto the shoulders. Exhale, clap the hands. Again, clap the hands. And one last time, clap. Hold. Hold. And release. Throw it out. Now we are going to bring the knees into the chest, lift the shoulders off the ground, extend the arms forward, and just see if we can hold this tucked position, activating the core, trying to suck the navel into the spine, and let's lower down. Catch our breath, and on an exhale, one more time, lift up, holding this tuck. See if you could rise a little bit higher, tuck a little tighter, and now hands behind the head. We're going to do some yogi bicycles. Extend our right foot, reach our right elbow to our left knee, and slowly switch sides with control. Creating our own resistance as we move our legs as if we're moving through water. A few more. Moving slowly and deliberately. Crunching our abs each time we reach for our knee. And now let's speed it up a little bit. Switch, 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 switch. Remember to breathe. 3, 2, and 1. Let's lower down. And now the next exercise we're going to do, we are going to bring our legs over our head like we're in halasana, plow pose, and then we're going to bend our knees and trying to keep our knees into our chest as long as possible. Slowly, slowly lower down to the ground, tap the toes, and bring them overhead again. Bringing the knees into the chest, and as slow as possible, keeping the knees in the chest. Lower down, tap, come back into halasana. Lower down, tap. And let's do this 10 times. So 1, 2, keep the knees into the chest as long as possible. Really using our core to do it. 3, 4, 5. Our hands are by our sides to help us. 6, 7. Almost there. 8. Really keep those knees in. 9. Last one, make it count. And 10. Let's roll up into a seated position and come forward onto our hands and knees, tabletop position, and let's do some cat-cows. Starting with a nice cow to stretch out that stomach, and cat, rounding through the spine. Take it with your own time, on your own breaths, inhaling into cow pose, exhaling into cat pose, releasing our ab muscles after that core work. And now on the next cat pose, we're going to try to make this a really, really good cat pose. We're going to press our fingers into the mat strongly, keeping our shoulders pushing down, tucking our tailbone as much as possible, trying to rise our spine as high as we can, coming into our biggest cat ever, and releasing into cow. Again, let's tuck our tailbone, pushing our hands away from us, trying to lift our navel up through our spine, holding our biggest cat pose ever. Release into cow, and one more time into a very conscious cat pose, and release into tabletop. Let's extend our right leg behind, our left arm in front, and on an exhale, bring the elbow to the knee, trying to have a cat pose in this position, and extend elbow to knee. Inhale, extend. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, extend. Let's bring the left arm behind us, reach for the right foot, and stretch it out a little bit here. Stretching out our stomach and our spine. Release, and lower down to the ground. Other side, left leg comes behind, right arm in front with a flat back. We're gonna get our cat back, bring the elbow to the knee, round through the spine. Inhale, bring the arm to the front, leg to the back. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, release. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, release. And now reach back for the foot. Push the foot into the hand. Try to get some length here. And let go of the foot. Come back to center and back to a tabletop position. From here, we're going to tuck our toes into the ground, lift our knees up, hold in this position for just a couple breaths, our knees just a couple inches off the mat. Feel like we're pulling our hands back to our toes and our toes forward to our hands. Now we're going to push back and raise our butt high to the sky for our first downward facing dog. Adjust yourself to your comfortable downward facing dog. Start to walk your feet out a little bit. From this downward facing dog, we're going to do some dynamic motions into plank pose to start articulating through our spine. So let's round through our back and come into plank. Bend our knees, push back, push our butt high into downward facing dog. Round through the back, one vertebrae at a time, into plank. Bend the knees, push the butt back towards the heels, and then straighten up, downward facing dog. Again, round, articulating through the whole spine, into plank. Bend the knees, push yourself back, rise to downward facing dog. And 2 more times, round to plank, bend the knees, staying strong in the core, lift the hips. Last time, round through every vertebrae, hold a strong plank, feeling the arms pulling toward the toes pulling towards the arms. bend the knees, push yourself back, and lift your hips for downward facing dog. Getting comfortable in this downward facing dog. If you want to have a slight bend to your knees, that's okay. If you want to start to straighten your knees, think of bringing your hips higher and higher rather than straightening your knees back. Remember to have strong hands pushing through our fingertips, pushing through especially the thumb and forefinger, and relaxing our shoulders. Now we're going to slowly walk the hands back, one hand per at a time, to our legs. And let's grab opposite elbows and just gently sway here. Releasing through our hamstrings, releasing through our spine. Let's lower the hands down, softly bend the knees, and roll up one vertebrae at a time, just standing. And let's walk to the front of our mat, standing in Samasthiti, to do some Surya Namaskar A, sun salutations, with a bit of a modification for extra strengthening. We're going to inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift, straighten the spine. Exhale, place the hands on the mat and go into high plank. We're going to hold this high plank for a couple extra breaths to work on the core, to work on our arms. And let's lower down to chaturanga, which we're also going to hold for a couple of extra breaths. In chaturanga, half the weight is on the hands, half is on the feet. So this is an important posture to hold before we put all the weight on our hands. Let's inhale to upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. And hold for a few breaths. Let's look forward, bend the knees, hopper step to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Slight bend to the knees to rise all the way up, hands overhead. And exhale, hands to our side, Samasthiti. Let's do one more just like that. So inhale, arms come all the way up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, strong hands, step back to a high plank. Hold the plank, being active, pushing away, feeling like we have a bit of a cat back here, tucking the tailbone, pushing the hands into the mat. One more inhale, and on an exhale, lower to chaturanga. Hold here for an extra breath. And on an inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And now we're just going to hop through and come to sit on our knees. And we're going to start to play around with lifting ourselves up with Lalasana. So the first step for this pose to build up the strength, we're going to sit in Vajrasana. We'll have a hunch in our back like we're doing cat, really contracting our abs, having a strong core. We're going to place the hands beside our hips and see if we can just lift our knees and lower. So let's do that 2 more times. Lift the knees, let's hold for 3, 2, 1. And again, lift the knees, bring them into your chest for 3, 2, 1. If that's going well, you can move on with me to do full Alasana. If it's a bit of a struggle, keep working on that and you'll build up the strength. So to do full Lolasana, we're going to be in a similar position, but this time we're going to lift the feet as well as the knees up. And here it's important that we try to make chaturanga with our arms. So having a bend in our arms is going to help us. We're going to have a round in our back, a strong core, and we're going to lift up and hold for 3, 2, 1. Lower down. How'd that go? Let's do it one more time. Arms down, bend to the arms, look at the front of your mat, and on exhale, lift up for 3, 2, 1. Good job. We're going to work on seeing if we can incorporate Lolasana into our Surya Namaskar, into our sun salutations. So we're going to see if we can insert it just before the chaturanga. So let's practice that while we're here on our mat. We're going to lift up into Lolasana and see if we can jump our legs behind us into chaturanga. And so what's important to do this is that in order for our legs to go back, our front has to go forward, so that it's kind of going to balance itself out. Otherwise, it's going to feel like it's just not possible, like it's not a natural weight for your body. But if you balance yourself out like a seesaw, it should help a lot. So let's try that one time. We're going to lift into Lolasana. We're going to push our chest forward and throw our legs back into chaturanga. Lift up to upward facing dog and back to downward facing dog. You can pause the video and try that as many times as you want. We're going to have lots of practice with it now with the rest of our sun salutations, so feel free to join me. Let's look forward to the front of our mat, bend our knees, come halfway up, exhale, fold all the way down, slight bend in the knees, inhale, lift all the way up, exhale, hands to your side. Let's do one sun salutation A, holding the plank, holding the chaturanga, and using Lolasana or your version of Lolasana to jump back to that chaturanga. Saran Samastiti. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Pressing into the hands, we're going to come onto our toes, bringing our knees into our chest, bend the elbows, push the weight forward into Lolasana. Bring the legs back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. How'd that go? From downward facing dog, we're going to lift our right leg up to the sky for three-legged dog. Bring it in to our right elbow, crunching our back. Lift it back to the sky. Bring it into our chest with our cat back. Lift it up to the sky. Bring it over to our left elbow. Lift it up to the sky and lower down, three-legged to downward facing dog. Lift the left leg up for three-legged dog. Bring it to our left elbow. Extend back. Bring it to our chest, keeping it as high as possible. Extend back. And to our right elbow across our body. Exhale back. And come to downward facing dog. Let's lift our right leg up to the sky again. This time, bend the knee. We're going to try to keep the knee into our chest the whole entire time. So here in this three-legged dog, the knee is bent and coming to our chest. We're going to roll forward like a high plank with our knee still on our chest, and back, downward facing dog. Keeping the knee where it is. 2 more times. Roll forward, high leg, and back. Last time, inhale, hold, and bring it back. Let's bring the hips, open up the hips, and bring the right leg onto the ground for a wild thing. Stretching through our stomach, stretching through our spine. Bringing the right hand back to the mat, right hand up to the sky. Lower the foot, back to downward facing dog, and lift the left leg up. Bend the knee, staying in this three-legged dog. Bring the knee into the chest, and then roll through the back, coming into high plank with the leg up. Back to downward facing dog, roll into high plank, downward facing dog, keeping the knee as tight as you can into your body, high plank, hold that cat back, downward facing dog, open up the hip, extend the leg, and come into wild thing. Bring the left hand back to the mat, left foot up to the sky, back to downward facing dog. Let's catch our breath, look towards our hands, bend our knees, and come to the front of our mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale to rise up. Exhale, arms to our side. Let's move on to Surya Namaskar B a couple times with our Vinyasa modification and some other modifications to really work on that tuck position. That's going to be super helpful when we work on our jump backs later. So bend our knees, hips go back, arms reach high for chair pose. Exhale, chest comes to the knees, fold all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, try Vinyasa and jump the legs back, chaturanga, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. We're going to step our right leg all the way through, holding this cat back first, and see if we can step it cleanly between our hands. Lower our left heel and come up, rising through our cat back to warrior one. On an inhale, exhale, hands come down to the mat, round through our back. See if we can lift our foot off the ground, come back, lower, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, chest coming through our arms, and exhale, downward facing dog. Our left leg is going to come all the way through, holding in this one-legged plank as high as we can, and see if we can step the left leg between our hands, lower our right heel, round through our back as we come up for Virabhadrasana, warrior one. Exhale, lower the hands back to the mat. See if we can lift the foot up, back, lower to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Good job. Hold here for 5 breaths. Remembering to push through our hands. 2 deep and steady breaths. 3, 4, and 5. Look between our hands. Jump or step to the front of our mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Bend the knees, hips go back for chair pose. And exhale, Samastiti. Let's do one more Surya Namaskar B. Just to make sure we're super warm. Hips go back, bend the knees. Inhale for chair pose. Exhale, bend all the way down, straighten the knees, Uttanasana. Inhale to halfway lift. Push through the hands, come onto the toes, bend the elbows for Vinyasa. Jump back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Right knee comes into the chest. Hold here for an extra breath. Keeping the knee as high as possible, and step between our hands, coming up to Virabhadrasana A. Lower the hands to the mat with our cat back, lift up, bring the foot back, lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left knee comes into the chest, hold here, rise the knee a little higher, and step it through. Lower the right leg, inhale, warrior one. Exhale, hands come to the mat, cat back, lift the foot, bring the leg back, lower to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. And again, 5 breaths here. So that Lalasana transition is super strengthening. It's also a little tiring. If you're working on strength, you can feel free to add it to other flows whenever you're jumping back to chaturanga. Would be a fun opportunity to see how it's coming along and to add an extra challenge. A couple more breaths here. Let's look between the hands, step or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale to chair pose. Exhale, hands to our sides. Let's give our upper body a bit of a break and do some standing poses. So let's do a vinyasa to go to warrior two. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. Step or float back or go through Lalasana, however you would like. Join in chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's step our right leg in between our hands. Bring our left leg, our left heel on the ground, and inhale into Virabhadrasana B, warrior B. And hold here for a couple of breaths. Try to have your arms in one line with your shoulders. Check on your back foot. Make sure there's weight in the outer arch of that back foot. Make sure your right knee is coming right on top of your right ankle. And make sure you're not dumping into your stomach and sticking your butt out. Try to tuck through your tailbone, keeping a strong core. Let's exhale, straighten both legs. Bring the legs parallel to each other. Hands on the waist. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold all the way down for Prasarita Padottanasana A. Hands come between the feet. Inhale here, and exhale, walk the hands back and come all the way down. Push through the hands as if you're doing a handstand. Feel strong through your legs. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, straighten the arms. Exhale, hands come to the waist. And inhale, roll yourself all the way up. Let's open our legs up to the left side. Extend the arms. Virabhadrasana be on the left. Remembering to breathe. The gaze goes over the left fingertips. Remembering to keep a slight tuck to our pelvis so that our butt and stomach aren't pushing out. And remembering to stay active through our back foot. Let's straighten that leg, parallel the feet again. This time, hands on the hips. Lift the chest and fold all the way down to Prasarita B, keeping the hands on the waist. Trying to bring the elbows closer together behind your back. If you can, see if you can shift the weight a little bit forward so it's more in the ball of your feet rather than the heel. And when you're ready, look towards your navel, roll yourself up, and come to standing. Let's open up to the right side for triangle pose. Extend the arms, shift the hips over to the left, keeping length. Bring yourself forward and drop the hand onto the shin or the foot or onto a block, keeping the left wrist on top of our left shoulder. Push through both feet evenly, and if you can, gaze towards that left hand. Remembering to have a slight tuck of the pelvis here so that we aren't pushing our stomach out. Look down to the foot, slight bend of the knee. Inhale to come up, parallel your feet. This time we're going to do Prasarita C. So clasp the hands behind the back. Inhale, lift the chest high. Exhale, fold all the way down. With every inhale, see if you can pull the hands away from your body, and the exhale, see if you can bring them closer to the ground. One more breath. Slight bend of the knees, look towards your navel, roll yourself up. Extend the arms, turn to the left side, and fold out over your leg for triangle pose on the left, hand coming to the shin or the foot. Gaze towards your right hand. Strong legs, strong feet. Look down, slight bend of the knee. Inhale, come all the way up. Parallel the feet, hands come to our waist. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, bend down, slide your hands down to reach for your big toes for Prasarita D. Inhale, lengthen, straighten the arms. Exhale, bend the arms, and reach the crown of the head down towards the ground. For our deepest forward fold. Inhale, lengthen and straighten the arms. Exhale, hands come to the waist. Look down to the navel. Inhale, roll yourself all the way up. Come again to the right. We're going to bend our right knee, lengthen our stance a little bit if we want, and come into extended side angle. So right arm is either going to come onto the knee or the hand can go all the way down to the ground. Our left arm is going to come up over our head, creating one long line from our left foot to the tip of our left fingertips. Our gaze can be looking out past our left fingertips. Remember, if your hand is on the ground, to push your right knee into your right arm, staying active through our legs. Inhale, let's come back up. This time, let's come into goddess pose. So pointing our toes out, we're going to bend our knees. Let's put our hands onto our knees and just stretch out through the hips, through the shoulders. When you're ready, let's join our arms into eagle arms. So the right arm is going to come underneath, wrap it around, join the hands, and try to raise the elbows up to the sky, feeling a stretch through our shoulders. For 2 more breaths. Release the arms, switch over to the left side, lengthen our stance, bend the left knee, left forearm comes onto the knee, or the left fingertips reach for the ground, right hand comes overhead for extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. Remember to maintain contact with the outer edge of that right foot and the ground, and our left knee is pushing strongly into our left arm. And then inhale, come up. Back to goddess pose, bend the knees, stretch through the hips, hands on the knees. Lift ourselves back up, this time eagle arms for the other side, so the left hand comes underneath. We're going to wrap our hands and try to lift the elbows up to the sky. Let's release, come back, facing the front of our mat, bring our hands down to the mat, step back, lower to chaturanga, inhale to upward facing dog, exhale to downward facing dog, and let's jump through, try and come into Navasana, boat pose. We're going to do one more core exercise before we get to the actual jump throughs and jump backs. So we're going to be here in Navasana with our legs bent, and we're going to straighten our legs, lower down for Ardha Navasana, low boat pose. Inhale, come up to Navasana with the legs bent, trying to bring the knees close to the chest. Exhale, Ardha Navasana, sit 5 more times. Navasana, Ardha Navasana, come up, lower down, come up, lower down, 3 more times, up, 2, bring the knees high, and 1, hold here in Navasana. Bring the knees into the chest as much as possible, and lower down. Let's bring the feet the width of the mat, and just windshield wiper the legs back and forth, releasing through the quads, releasing through the core. So that core work and the Surya Namaskar with the added Lalasana are good to help you build the strength. There are exercises that you can do if you're working up to jump throughs and jump backs. Or today we're just talking about jump backs. But now we're going to work on the actual mechanism for the jump back and see what we can do so we can build up to it. So the first position that's important is that tuck position that we worked on in child pose, that we worked on our back. We're going to see if we can work on it while we're sitting upright. So we're going to hold, cross our legs, and hug our knees into our chest. Here it's really important to have a cat back, so our stomach, our navel is going back into our spine, creating space for our knees to get as close as possible. And then once we have this position nice and tight, holding with our arms, we're going to see if we can release our arms and place them out in front of us. And we're going to hold here for 3, 2, 1, and release to Dandasana, staff pose. And now let's try with the other leg in front, holding ourselves into a tight ball, sucking our navel back to our spine, rounding through our spine, and release the arms. We're going to try to hold for 3, keep the knees close to the armpits, 2, 1, release to Navasana. Let's try that again, but this time let's see if we can come straight into the posture without hugging our knees into our chest, using our arms first, just using the strength of our core and of our legs. So inhale here in Dandasana, and on an exhale, bring the knees in, hold the arms out in front, and hold for 3, 2, 1, release. Inhale here, and exhale, other leg, and hold for 3, 2, 1. So that's a really important shape to have if you want to be successful in a jump back. So if it's not quite there yet, I recommend working on that, trying to get a nice tight ball. Next, we're going to work on the first emotion of a jump back, which is a lift. So let's cross our legs, place our hands beside our hips, and keeping our feet on the ground, see if we can round through our back, push into our hands, and lift our butt up and lower down. Now let's do that again. Lift off, lower down, lift off, and lower down. So that's kind of stage one. If you want to work up to the next level, we're going to see if we can lift our butt and our feet off the ground at the same time, ideally holding that tuck position. So let's bring the knees in together, place the hands beside a little bit in front of the hips so that we can maintain our balance, so we have good momentum to hold ourselves up. And we're going to lean into our hands and lift our butt up and lower down. Again, lift up and lower down and lift up and lower down. If that's tough, you can stay working on the first stage of just lifting your butt up, or you can try using blocks. You can also use blocks for what we were working on earlier with Vinyasa to give yourself more space, because there's a bit more wiggle room then. You don't have to lift yourself up quite so high. So it's a good tool to get familiar with the motion. All right, so we worked on lifting up. That's part one of the motion. It's inhale, lift up, and part two of the motion is exhale, jump your legs back. So to work on this, we're going to place our hands in front of our legs, lean onto our hands, and try to jump back. And let's try that 2 more times. So we're sitting cross-legged, we bring our weight forward, place the weight over our hands, bend our elbows, place the weight forward, our shoulders and our head going forward, and trying to jump back. And one more time. Placing the hands on the ground, and jump back. Don't crash into the ground like I just did, or do. Doesn't hurt, we're close to the ground anyway. So that's another first stage for working on that jump back. The next level up would be doing it from Vinyasa like we were doing earlier. So let's work on that a little bit. So starting on our toes, place our hands on the ground, round through our back, bend our elbows, lift the feet up, and place the feet back. And let's do that 2 more times, or whatever stage you're at, work where you are. Round through the back, place the weight on the hands, and jump back. And one more time, lean forward, and jump back. So we have the lift up, we have the jump back, and now one of the hardest parts, in my experience, is linking them together. So we're going to start out with a modification, and this is how you can practice jump backs until you gain the strength to do a full jump back. Is either wherever you are, just lifting the butt off the ground, or lifting yourself completely off the ground. But we're going to lift, and then place the feet down, place the hands, and jump. So you see when I'm doing that, there's a constant forward motion as I lift, and then I start going forward, the hands catch me, and then I keep going forward, the feet go behind me. Let's do that 1 more time. Remember, the lift can either be here, or it can be a full lift, and then the feet go down, the hands go in front, the feet go back. So that's a really great modification that you can work on and build the strength and become familiar with the motion. If you want to move on to a full jump back, that's going to look like this, putting it all together. So we're going to bring the knees into the chest. We're going to exhale here. Place the hands down. On inhale, we're going to lift all the way up. And exhale, bring the feet back to chaturanga. And then you're going to go through your upward facing dog, your downward facing dog, ashtanga style. If you're having difficulty going from the stage where you're keeping your feet on the ground that I showed you earlier to the full jump back, I found that blocks are really helpful. Again, they give you that extra space. So if you want to, here, place the hands down, exhale, here, inhale, lift up, exhale, bring feet back to chaturanga. I would suggest that once you start getting that motion, even just a little bit with the blocks, that you try to do the full thing without the blocks, because I found that blocks can be they're comforting, they're nice, they give you space, but if you really want to get the full motion, it's important to practice it to the fullest extent, and that's how you're going to build the strength once you do become comfortable on the blocks. I found that sometimes in my practice, if I'm feeling tired, if I'm feeling lazy, the blocks look so tempting, but they would really just at that point not be any help, and it's working on the actual motion that is helping me to build the strength, and that can help you too once you've built up the strength with these modifications. So now that we have our jump back or our jump back modified, we're going to do some of the seated poses, transitioning with the jump back like traditional ashtanga. So let's come up into a downward facing dog, look between our hands, and however you want, jump or step through to seated. Maybe the jump through will be another video. Let's bring the right foot into our body and bring the right knee out for Jani Shirshasana A on the left side, holding onto our left leg or onto our left wrist. Lengthen ourselves out and lower down for a few breaths here, straight stretching through our hamstrings. Inhale, lift your head. Exhale, release. Hands to our side, your version of a jump back, either coming up, stepping the hands through and jumping back, using blocks, or doing the full version. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Look between our hands and come through to seated. This time the left leg goes out to the side for Jani Shirshasana on the right side, and fold forward. Feeling a nice stretch, giving ourselves a little bit of rest before our next jump back. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, arms to the side. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Look between our hands. Come through to seated for Jani Shirshasana B. Bringing our foot into Jani Shirshasana A position, and then sitting over our heels, our toes face forward, our right knee coming out at 85 degrees, holding on to our left foot or our left wrist, and extend out. Inhale, lift your head. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Look between your hands. Jump all the way through for Jani Shirshasana B. C on the other side. Open the knee out. Sit onto your left foot. Left knee comes at 85 degrees. Left toes facing forward. And grab onto your right leg or onto your right wrist with your left hand and fold all the way forward. Jani Shirshasana head to knee pose, but really just as long as you feel a stretch, you're doing great. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, hands come to your side. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, Come back, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Let's jump through for Marichyasana A. So the right foot comes close to the right glute, keeping about a fist distance between your right foot and your left knee. Our right sit bone lifts off the ground. Lift the right hand high, bend forward, wrap it around, and try to bind. And now extend over that left leg. And hold here, looking towards your left toes. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, release. Cross the legs. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, back to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Jump between your hands for Marichyasana A. On the other side, left foot comes close to your left glutes, keeping a space between your thigh and your foot. Reach the left arm all the way up, behind your back. Go for the bind if you can, and extend over your right leg. Gaze towards your right foot. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Cross the legs. Inhale, come up. Exhale, the chest goes forward, legs go back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And for the last seated posture, let's jump between our hands for Marichyasana C. So the foot comes to the same position. This time, the left reaches up and crosses over for a twist. Binding behind your back, if you can, looking over your right shoulder. Your right sit bones are off the ground. Look back to center, release, cross the legs, inhale up, exhale, chest goes forward, leg go back, upward facing dog, downward facing dog, look between the hands, Marichyasana C. On the other side, left foot comes close to the glute, reaching the right arm up, wrapping around the leg, and trying to bind. Breathing into our organs, into our stomach. Trying to lengthen our back in this twist. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, release. And the last one, your version of a jump back. Hands on the ground. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, all the way back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And let's come through to a seated position and just bring our feet together for Baddha Konasana. Flapping our knees, butterfly pose, keeping a straight back. Let's bring our elbows onto our legs and fold forward, giving a stretch through our hips. Keeping a long back in this forward fold. When you're ready, join me on the ground. We've done a lot of compression of the stomach, so it'll feel nice to do some backward extension. Let's place the arms in front. Lengthen through the legs. Inhale into Superman pose. Trying to be as long as possible. The toes pointed back, toes together. The hands going for the wall in front of you, the toes for the wall behind. And exhale, rest. One more time, inhale up. You don't have to think about going so high, but more about going long, making yourself the longest Superman that you can. And now let's bend the legs, reach for the feet with the hands for Dhanurasana bow pose, pushing into the hands with the feet, into the feet with the hands, and trying to lift ourselves and our chest up to the sky. And release. One breath here. And again, bend the feet, reach for the feet, bend the knees, reach for the feet. Lift yourself up to bow pose. And let's massage our stomach a little bit and roll back and forward. Have some fun. And release. Place the hands next to our chest for low cobra. Lift all the way up, upward facing dog. The chest shining through the arms. And push back for downward facing dog. Coming all the way through into Dandasana. For Paschimottanasana, a seated forward fold. Be as gentle as you want. This is really just to release the back. If you want, you can have a generous bend in your legs. You can hold opposite elbow behind your knees. And just allow your back to round after that backward extension. Let's inhale, lift ourselves all the way up and come into a twist. We're going to take the left leg, place the left foot close to our right glute, and the right foot is going to come on the outside of the left knee for Ardha Matsyendrasana. We're going to lift our left hand up to the ground, up to the sky, bring the elbow onto the outside of our right knee, and open ourselves up to the right, looking over our shoulder for a nice deep twist. You can stay here if you want, or you could go for a fun bind under the knee to pull yourself even deeper and open up that right shoulder a little bit. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, release, and switch sides. The right foot coming close to the left foot. The left foot coming to the outside of the right knee and thigh. Lifting the right hand up, lengthening through our spine. Hooking the left knee with the right arm. And twisting ourselves open to the left, looking over our left shoulder. This is a great stretch. You can stay here, or if you want to go for a bind, go through that hole and reach for the left arm, pulling yourself deeper. Remembering to have length in our spine. Let's look forward, release, and gently roll down onto our back. Bring the knees into our chest, roll side to side. Let's grab on to the outside edge of the feet for happy baby. Move your baby however you want. You can straighten one leg, straighten the other leg, roll around, straighten both legs. Just play around with it, whatever feels good to you. And then meet me lying down on the mat. Extend the feet out for Shavasana. Adjust the shoulder blades on your back. Extend the arms out to your side. And just allow yourself to let go. bring small movements back to the body. Wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Bring the arms up over your head for a nice full body stretch. When you're ready, roll off to your right side using your right hand like a pillow. Lift yourself up to a seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Let's bring our hands into our chest, being grateful for our practice, being grateful for ourselves, our teachers, being grateful for the universe. Let's close our practice with 1 Om and 3 Shantis. On your next inhale, inhale for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently bow your head to your chest. Rub your palms together, generating heat. Bring that heat through your hands to your closed eyes, and with your hands over your eyes, gently blink your eyes open. Release your hands to your heart. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope that these exercises have helped you, that you can work on them, and we'll all improve our jump backs and have lots of fun with our transitions. Namaste.